Hello, everybody. Crazy about that angle. It's better. Seasons change, the lighting changes, everything changes. You have to figure out how to deal with all the changes, right? Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. The fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us now. The fragrance of this incense fills our room, protects and guards our minds from wrong thinking. The fragrance of this incense unites us with precepts, concentration, and insight. We offer it for all beings. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I shall become one with the Buddha. I resolve that I shall each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I shall become one with the Dharma. The gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them all. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I shall become one with the Sangha. In the spirit of universal fellowship and as a member of the Sangha, I pledge myself to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. And that is Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings. Radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies, downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. We'll meditate for a little while. So just get comfortable, whatever meditation posture you prefer. I've been debating with myself all day how we should meditate tonight. I'm very tempted to just ring the bell and just have us sit in silence together for a little while. But I think people come to expect guided meditations from me on these Wednesday night services. So we'll do the guardian meditations and then some silence. few deep breaths, just letting your belly be nice and relaxed so your lungs can fill and empty comfortably but deeply. And then let your breath settle into a comfortable rhythm. And we'll begin by acknowledging the Buddha. So, whatever your highest purpose is in life and beyond life. So, the Buddha is unfailingly pure. Because of his unexcelled awakening, because he awakened others, he is our ideal practice. So just open up to your intention to live in a way that's guided by your highest values. And the second guardian is goodwill, is metta. May I be happy. May I be free from animosity. May I be free from stress and affliction. May I look after them myself with ease. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from animosity. May all beings be free from stress and affliction. May all beings look after themselves with ease. And the third guardian is mindfulness of the body. And there are two reasons for this. And the first reason is to bring us into the present moment by experiencing what's happening in the body right now. The body is sitting, it's breathing. It's also changing. And so this is the second reason. Body is empty. Body is empty of self. We identify with it as being us. But form, feeling, mental formations, perceptions, consciousness, none of those things contain the self. So don't try to analyze that right now. Just be in the body. And just be open to awareness that whatever arises changes. And the fourth guardian is mindfulness of the insubstantiality of existence, the cycle of coming and going. This body is subject to aging, to illness, to dying. I'm the owner of my karma, heir to my karma, born of karma, related to all creation by karma, live supported by karma. Whatever I do, good or evil, I will inherit the results. All beings are the owners of their karma, heirs to their karma. Born of karma, All beings are related to all creation by karma. All beings live supported by their karma. Whatever they do, good or evil, they will inherit the results. And let's just take a few moments and just sit in silence and observe the breath. Pardon me, do the dedication first, and then I'll move up there and give the Dharma talk. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now, and offering flowers, candles, and incense, training the mind, great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, the 16 guardians and all protectors of the Dharma and their relations throughout space and time, and to all our ancestors of this Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance. Let all karma be resolved and the mind flower bloom in eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. May their vows be fully realized, and may they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. Excuse me. We pray for those suffering from violence and those who grieve for them, for those living in oppression, for all who are in prison who should be free, for all refugees from violence, hunger, and catastrophe, man-made or natural. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, those working toward the healing of those afflictions. We pray for those suffering from COVID-19, those working to protect and treat them, and those grieving for those lost to this pandemic. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. Sabe sata sadahantu avera sukha jivino katang punya phalang maihang sabe bhagi bhavantu te. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings that spring from the good we have done. Kathleen, you're going to do the Brahma Viharas workshop with us, right? So we're going to talk about that one more in that context. And I asked you if we're going to do it, but I haven't announced the time yet. So, but I'm trying to schedule it when it's available at a time that will work for people who've told me that they want to do it. Excuse me. I'm not sick, by the way. It's just, the weather changed, got cool, then it got warm, then it got cool, then it got warm. It just kind of stimulates all the respiratory activity. So, were you talking about, yes, all evil karma ever committed by me since of old on account of my beginning this greed, anger, and ignorance, born in my body, mouth, and thought. Now I atone for it all. I'm sorry, I was confused because I mentioned karma in the meditation also, and I thought you were asking about that. I'm glad you asked that. So if you go to the Volusia Buddhist Fellowship website, which is just volusiabuddhist.org, you'll see on there where you can subscribe to email notices. And I think actually on the homepage too, you can, in the email notice and on the homepage, there's a place where you can click and get the PDF of these services. So if you want to chant along, recite along, or just follow along, you'll have that. So you can do that. And if you have trouble with that, feel free to email me and I can always send you the PDF or Word doc or whatever. Since the topic has come up, just a reminder, I do want to schedule this workshop on the Brahma Viharas. And I was thinking maybe we would start Thanksgiving week. You're welcome, Kathleen. And continue through December, meeting once a week. And I'm kind of looking to see how many hours I think it'll take to get through everything. So what I've noticed is it's pretty hard for people to stay too connected to staring at their computer screen in a Zoom room and absorb stuff that whole time. And so I'd like to have them be 1 hour sessions, but we might go a little bit longer. I don't know. It's never done one before. So, and lots of people are doing things they've never done before right now. So it's kind of hard to say what's going to work exactly. But in fact, I just completed a 4-day virtual session of sorts. Virtual retreat with Zen Peacemakers International. Every year they have a retreat at Auschwitz. I've probably mentioned this in one of these services recently that I was going to do this. And since they couldn't travel to Auschwitz this year, they did one virtually. And it was 4 days, 3 hours each day. And my ability to stay connected that whole time, kind of came up and down, and I kind of sensed that from other people who participated, but it was not too difficult to stay really engaged with the material, partly because the material itself changed and there were different formats and things like that. So one day we'd watch a film together, and then there would be some discussion about that between a panel or something, or a couple of people who, had some expertise in whatever the film was dealing with and stuff. And there would be a religious ceremony of some kind. There was an interfaith service one day, saying Kaddish one day in multiple languages. So it took a little while. It was beautiful. There was a Gate of Sweet Nectar ceremony from LA Zen Center that was not, it was a little untraditional. It was interesting. And there was a sort of a closing ceremony the last day. And then there would be these council things where basically you get into breakout sessions, and they were facilitated by people who were used to facilitating these council meetings. So Zen Peacemakers has people all over the world. And so they've been doing remote meetings for ages and ages. So they're pretty good at what they do. This particular thing they just hadn't done remotely before. And it ended up working out really well. I could see us doing something along those lines, maybe down the road, but it wouldn't be appropriate for this. So anyway, I just mentioned that so that people who are watching this, who may not always follow these, will know that this is coming up, and subscribe to our email updates, join the Facebook group, things like that. And you'll get the information about it. All right. So I did not prepare a Dharma talk for tonight. Can you tell? Partly because I figured people were going to want to try to process what has happened since yesterday and those kinds of things. And I didn't know what was going to happen. So it's kind of hard to prepare for a talk that you don't know what's going to happen. But there are some things that have come up several times over the course of the last couple of weeks, really, that relate to this and that I want to talk about. Probably in no, again, not in some polished, prepared order, but these are things that we've all thought about. And one question that I got, in fact, I got the question today from someone who is not well, is there a winning candidate? Do we know yet? Because last I checked, we weren't 100% sure. But yeah, I will talk about that tonight. Okay. You had me real excited there for a minute, Kathleen. Yeah, I know. All right. Well, anyway, it would have changed the nature of my Dharma talk if we knew. But anyway, the question came up today. Somebody said, I'm real attached to the outcome of what happens in this election. And, yeah, so it's pretty much everybody. But, the question is sort of, how do I navigate these and negotiate these difficult waters? That's okay, Karita. I think you told me. I think you said in the Zoom group. Don't worry about it. I know you want to. Yeah. So let me preface this by saying that it is my job to be compassionate, right? I mean, I'm a religious professional. This is what I do. But it ain't easy, I mean, realistically, this is very, very, very challenging time. Partly because, the stakes, honestly, the stakes on where this country goes and where the world goes, because not just the U.S. I thought I could leave the U.S. and go someplace where everybody's smart and has a good sense of moral forthrightness and stuff like that. I'd go there. right? Well, where is it? Yes, it does. It does go beyond just politics. So look, we would do well to go to war. Okay. So what are we going to go to war with? Are we going to go to war with friends and family who have, sided with somebody we don't like? Are we going to go to war with, the people on our street that put the wrong political signs in their yard? What we need to go to war with is greed, hatred, and delusion. And where do we need to fight those? Well, first here, but that's not where it stops. Okay, we do need to do things in our society. I was thinking about this, I started to say, to qualify this, it's hard for me too. I've had some really angry and hateful thoughts recently. But, I remind myself that getting angry at the other guy, first of all, it's not going to hurt him. I get as mad at that guy as I want to. He ain't care. Wow, he didn't care. Right? If I want to make a change, where do I start? Well, first of all, I can start by not attaching to my own greed, hatred, and delusion. And then I can see if there's things that I can do to go to war with greed, hatred, and delusion in my society. Not with the people, because I have it too, right? If we wiped out everybody who, what do we say at the beginning of every service? On account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance. Greed, hatred, and delusion. It's just different translations of the same thing. So that's number one, is when we look at spiritual progress, we don't want to confuse attacking, we're going to make spiritual progress by looking at our karma, right? Other people, yes, they commit evil karmas. That doesn't make them evil people. They might be, there are some people out there that come pretty close to being 100% evil, I guess. But not most of them, not most. Most of them are just subject to greed, hatred, and delusion, just like we are. So how do you have compassion for the person who voted for the person that you didn't vote for? Well, they are subjected to their own greed, hatred, and delusion. And in our society right now, unfortunately, the way society is structured right now, the way culture is structured right now, we have taken this sort of American tendency that already existed to consider greed a virtue, to consider anger a virtue, to consider delusion a virtue, and we've made it a part of the cultural fabric. And right now, because of social media and stuff like that, there's an awful lot of just noise out there, and it's really hard to not be influenced by that. And there are people who really know how to manipulate that crowd. So, the candidate that I assume you're talking about, announced his run by saying, look at these people over there. We need to hate them. Didn't he? Put up a wall to keep them out away from us. Ban them from coming into the country, right? Because they're bad. Okay? Well, we don't want to look at his followers and go, look at those people over there with those red hats on. We need to hate them. Won't do us any good. We'll just give them reasons to think we're screwed up, right? So look, again, I don't always practice what I preach. Well, I try to. I have these conversations with myself also, right? So, and yes, Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here and now. So, but to get to it, we have to dig up from under the greed, hatred, and delusion. So, and they have the possibility of awakening too, just like we do. I was talking with one of the people who comes regularly on Thursday night on a Zoom call yesterday. And we were kind of kidding around about all of this. And I told him that I'd actually seen one of the president's former advisors, one who was early on in the game, was real instrumental in kind of determining the direction of their campaign and the policy of the administration. And I was in Washington, D.C. for a chaplain's conference, and I suddenly found myself standing 6 feet away from this guy who was, this kind of short, real rumpled looking dude, talking to this tall, beautiful blonde, girl who was probably I don't know, political consultant or someone in communications or whatever. And I'm looking at him and going, that's that guy. I'm not going to say his name because I try really hard not to disparage people. Especially once I put this robe on. And sometimes in private with individuals, we go where we go when we talk. But as a religious professional, one of the vows I take is to not disparage others. So anyway, I'm not going to say this guy's name, but I'm looking at him and going, if I could just walk over there and punch him in the face. I had this thought. And then I thought, but that wouldn't do anybody any good. I might feel a little bit better for 10 seconds until I realized the cops were going to come and arrest me, right? But not only that, I would provide justification for the point of view that we're just a bunch of angry, hateful liberals, right? And that they're right to feel the way they do toward us. So from a practical standpoint, I would have accomplished nothing, or at least nothing that I wanted to accomplish. Right. So, also, I didn't want to get arrested. Not for that. If I'm going to get arrested, it's going to be for something a lot more dramatic than that. But anyway, there are people who have good reasons for doing what I consider to be the wrong thing. There just are. Look, in the meditation, all beings are the owners of their karma. So, I said in that meditation, we don't have a self. This is not me. Feeling is not me. Perception is not me. Mental formations is not me. Consciousness is not me. It's not mine to decide how it is. There are things that I can do, right? And I am the owner of my karma. So that's where I should focus first, is my karma, not other people's karma. And I've seen this from I saw this from a Dharma teacher today about how those people over there should be ashamed of themselves for doing this because they just voted for greed and they just voted for, hatred of this group and all of that. Well, okay, you can engage in this process of judging them if you want to. They're not going to argue with you, that what they did was hateful and what those things that they do potentially lead to these really bad things. But it's not gonna bring you any closer to awakening to go around judging others. Just doesn't. Just that's not how it works. There are religions where people confuse morality and moralism. Buddhism really doesn't encourage that. You can't leverage spiritual wealth off of somebody else's karma. You got to start with yours. So if you want to, look first at what's really important. How important is your hatred for that person? How important is your judgment of the neighbor down the street with the sign in the front yard? And I admit, it gives me the creeps to think that I'm surrounded by people who think that guy should be president. But it's weird because I don't get it at all. But for some reason they do, and I kind of understand some of their. Some of their attitudes. I have a friend who's a longtime Catholic, very devout Catholic, been a Republican for as long as I've known him, which, we're both getting on. And this was the 12th time I voted for president. So that's how long I've known the guy. And he is largely, not entirely, but largely one issue voter. In his religion, the guy who's in charge says life begins at conception, and if you don't believe that, then you're going to hell. And so he believes life begins at conception, and therefore we got to stop doing abortions. And that derives maybe not all of his political decisions, but an awful lot of them. And he told me that Trump, I didn't mean to say the name, try not to disparage people. He told me that, that guy was not his first or even his 16th choice for president in 2016. It was because he didn't trust him on abortion, not for any reasons that, that I consider important. He didn't trust him on that. So I have another friend who's, man, when I see his posts on Facebook and stuff, it just makes me cry. It really makes me cry because he thinks that people like me want to help bring about a political system in which there is a leftist dictatorship. And he lives under an oppressive leftist regime, or that America would, and part of his issue, besides, he grew up in a southern state, and, he's got, all this cultural stuff in place and everything. And, the particular candidate we're discussing did something that was very beneficial for the little town in the South that he's from. And so, all his friends and family from back home think he's great. And, all of that. I mean, those things are all pressures to trend in a certain way politically. And when he first came out in favor of him, there were a lot of friends of his on the left who just basically canceled him. They just ostracized him. And so that made him mad. But also, he doesn't live in this country. He's still an American citizen, but he lives in a country where there was an extreme right-wing dictatorship at one point in the past that, through the result of war, was eventually replaced by a kind of extreme left-wing dictatorship. It's not really, but it's certainly, from the way he sees it and from the way it sounds, the government is a lot more forceful about what it requires of citizens in terms of their adherence to social norms and things like that. We don't think about this in America because, I can walk down the street with a F the police t-shirt on and, there's people who won't like it, but, I get away with it. I can decide, there's a lot of decisions that I can make that nobody can legally prevent me from making. That's not the case in a lot of countries. And so he believes that, that's what we want to have happen. It's delusion. I don't want to live in a left-wing dictatorship any more than I want to live under a right-wing dictatorship, right? But there are people who think this way. So the second part of the war is we need better Americans. We need to fight for the minds of Americans. I have no idea how you do that. Somebody a lot smarter than me is going to have to figure that out. But there are people who are fighting for the minds of Americans who really don't have our best interests at heart. And some of them are right here in our country, and some of them are elsewhere. And they're working really hard using media like the one that I'm using to speak to you now, for example, or the one that maybe where you saw the link to click on to get here and that kind of stuff. They're using those same methods to get to people, basically to manipulate them so that they can amass wealth and power. So we need to somehow figure out a way to be better at changing the minds of our friends and neighbors. How? I don't know, but I know that hating them is not going to work. And I thought about that. I can tell you how many times I thought of just going down and unfriending everybody on Facebook that I know is a Republican. So, but that won't help, And by the way, if you happen to be not of my political persuasion and you're watching this, please understand and be assured that as a religious professional, as I've used the term, I love everybody. I want everyone to achieve awakening. I might not understand the decisions you make. Okay. I might even get really pissed at you, but I'm not going to reject you as a human being. Now, I might not follow you on Facebook if you're posting a lot of negative stuff, but it's not going to help us to reject people as human beings. We can reject attitudes that are harmful. We can certainly reject states of minds that are harmful. What did the Buddha say? There are thoughts and thought processes that lead to freedom, that lead to happiness, that lead to well-being, that lead to liberation. I should develop those. There are thoughts and thought processes that lead to suffering, that lead to death, that lead to away from freedom toward greater bondage. And I should abandon those. Right? That doesn't mean we abandon the people, but to the extent that we can, we can model where we think things need to be. So I started out this whole thing in the meditation by talking about the self. We don't own this. Somebody said something to me recently about Buddhism, and it was one of those, is it a religion or a thing? And they use the term self-improvement. And I said, no, that doesn't work in Buddhism because we don't have a self. What self would you improve? Right? You can't improve yourself, but you can improve your karma, and that is yours. So improve your karma, and then see what you can do about the karma of the rest of the world. Now, one seriously important thing is look and say, okay, what is important to me here? This works in relationships with spouses and kids and stuff too. Is my anger at them for not taking out the trash important, or is the lack of or the fact that there's still trash in the house important? What needs to be done here? We don't need to dwell on our anger. We don't need to dwell on our hatred or our, we don't need to increase the amount of misunderstanding, mistrust, and animosity. But we can look and go, okay, so what is it that I'm worried is going to happen? Well, number one, in my case, I worry about things like climate change. I spent a lot of time, or at least I did before COVID, in prisons talking to incarcerated individuals. And, I worry about the legal system issues. It's very unfair to certain social classes and certain races and so on. And once you're inside, we don't treat people well. And not only that, but we just kind of warehouse them until they have to get out. And so in the meantime, they're not learning anything that's going to be helpful to them. They're not improving their karma. They're just kind of biding time, right? So, I'm concerned about things like that. You can think about things like gun violence. Is there something you could do about that? Again, focus on the issue. See, treat yourself like, how when we talk about parenting, don't damn the person. Don't tell your kid that they're a bad kid. Tell your child the reasons why this would be a good thing to do, the reason why this wouldn't be a good thing to do, that kind of stuff. Focus on the actions. Same thing in management. I was in business school. You focus on, all right, what do you need to do in order to get the job done? So focus on what's really important, number one. And number two, look and see if there's something constructive I can do. And if so, try to do that. And I do believe we do as a society need to do something to just be smarter, to be better people. I read that, I'm almost out of time. I talked at length about that Lao Fan's 4 lessons. Chinese culture changed hugely because of things like Confucianism, and the idea that as a society, they needed to be put a lot more attention into what was the common good. Well, in this country, it was founded on this idea of individual self-realization, primarily individual self-economic realization. But, we as a society, we can change. A lot has changed in my lifetime, a lot. So we can work on that. So anyway, I probably haven't made you feel any better, but hopefully I've given you something that you can do that will eventually, hopefully, lead you in a direction that's more constructive. And at the same time, please, I'm not preaching to you, right? I am wrestling with this myself. We all are, and they are too. It's not an us and them thing. Everybody in this country is dealing with this, and we all need to deal with the delusion that's rampant. So, well, both sides. So anyway, thank you for your time, and I remind you that we meet tomorrow night on Zoom, and Sunday I will not be at White Sands, but I've got to go to Orlando and officiate a wedding, and I've got homecoming chapel at Stetson and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, so I will put up a Dharma talk sometime between now and Sunday morning, so you'll have that. And thank you very much. Have a good rest of your evening.